Hello everyone, and welcome to our video presentations. My name is Prastono and my three class number is 203. And today I am not alone. I'm here with my partner.
My name is Fathur Syauqi and my last three digits numbers are 210.
And today we are going to talk about sociolinguistics. So, before we begin, let us think about a question. Why do people speak differently even when they use the same language? For example, the way we speak to our friends is usually different from the way we speak to our teachers. We might also speak differently at home, at school, or in a formal situation. These differences are not random. They are connected to society, identity, culture, and social relationship.
That is what sociolinguistics tries to study. Sociolinguistics is a branch of linguistics that studies the relationship between language and society. So, in simple words, sociolinguistics explains how people use language in different social situations. It also studies how social factors influence the way people speak.
Some important social factors include age, gender, social class, culture, ethnicity, and region. For example, young people may use slang more often than older people. People from different regions might also have different accents or vocabulary. Sociolinguistics helps us understand why people speak differently. It also explains how language changes in society and how language reflects someone's identity.
Language is not only a tool for communication, it also helps people to create identities, maintain relationships, and shape culture.
For example, when students speak with their friends, they may use informal language, but when they speak with teacher, they usually use more polite and formal language. This shows that language depends on situal situations. Now let's move into the key concepts of in sociolinguistics. Sociolinguistics became an independent discipline around 1960s. One important approach at the time was called variationist research. This research showed that language variations is structured, not random. One important sociolinguist is William Labov. His study shows that pronunciation differences are connected to social identity, community membership, and people's attitudes. There are several key concepts in sociolinguistics. First one is overt prestige. This refers to standard language that is usually connected to education, authority, and formal situations. For example, a job applicant may use standard Indonesian or standard English during an interview to appear educated and professional. The second is covert prestige. This refers to non-standard language that may show local identity, friendship, or solidarity. For example, people may use a local dialect because it makes them feel closer to their community. The third one is social networks. This means that relationship between people that influence how they use language. For example, teenagers who spend most of their time with the same group of friends may adopt similar slang expressions and ways of speaking. Overall, Sociolinguistics shows that language variations reflects social relationships and identity.
Okay, so the next one is different approaches to sociolinguistics. The first one is variationist sociolinguistics. I will discuss about it. Variationist sociolinguistics studies how language varies and changes among social groups. It looks differences in pronunciation, grammar, and discourse. These differences are connected to social factors such as class, gender, ethnicity, and location. For example, someone from Surabaya may speak differently from someone from Jakarta or Bali. In Surabaya itself, there are also variations within the same city. For instance, Chinese Indonesians, or we call it Cindo, in Surabaya may have a different way of speaking Japanese or Indonesians compared to native Japanese speakers in Surabaya. The difference can be seen in pronunciation, word choice, and intonations, which reflects the cultural background and social environment. There is also social variation. This means that people from different social groups may use different language forms. For example, younger people may use internet slang such as LOL or BRB, while older people may prefer more formal language. Similarly, professionals such as lawyers or doctors often use specialized vocabulary related to their fields. Variationist sociolinguistics often uses quantitative methods. This means researchers count how often certain language forms are used. For example, they may count how many times a person uses a certain pronunciation or grammar pattern. Another important concept of observer's paradox. This happens when people change the way they speak because they know how they are being observed. For example, if a researcher records someone's speech, that person may speak more carefully than usual. Because of this, the researcher may not get the person's natural way of speaking. So, variationist sociolinguistics helps us understand that language variation is not a mistake. It is a natural part of language and society.
So, the second part of different approaches to sociolinguistics is interactional sociolinguistics. Interactional sociolinguistics studies how language is used appropriately in social situations. This field developed in 1960s as a response to generative linguistics, which focused mainly on grammar and the mental knowledge of language. Generative linguistics distinguish between linguistic performance and linguistic competence. Linguistic performance refers to the actual speech produced by speakers, including mistakes, pauses, and inconsistencies that may occur in everyday communication. In contrast, linguistic competence refers to a speaker's knowledge of the grammatical rules and structure of a language. Early generative linguists believed that the competence was most important aspect of language because it reflects a speaker's underlying knowledge of grammar. However, interactional sociolinguistics challenge this view. It argues that communication is not only about grammar, it is also about knowing what to say, when to say it, how to say it, and to whom. In other words, successful communications depends on understanding the social rules and norms of a particular situations. A key figure in this field is Del Hymes, who introduced the concept of communicative competence. Communicative competence is the ability to use language both correctly and appropriately in different social and cultural contexts. It includes not only grammatical knowledge, but also an understanding of how language should be used in real-life interactions. For example, when we talk to close friends, We usually use casual language, slang, or jokes. However, when speaking to a teacher or parents, we want to use more polite and respectful language. Similarly, during a job interview, we are expected to speak formally and professionally. Although the same language is being used, the way we speak changes depending on the social situations. A social context mistakes can occur when people use the wrong style of language in an appropriate setting. For instance, using very informal slang during a formal interview may create a negative impression because it does not match the expectation of that situation. Interactional sociolinguistics also examines how language is connected to identity, power, inequality, and social relationships. Research often studies language in naturally occurring conversations to understand how people communicate in everyday life. Overall, interactional sociolinguistics reminds us that successful communication depends not only on grammatical knowledge, but also on social understanding. To communicate effectively, speakers must know how to adapt their language to different people, situations, and cultural contexts.
The next one is we're going to talk about some key areas of interest in sociolinguistics. So the next topic is language and identity. Language and identity are closely connected in sociolinguistics. People use language not only to show who they are, but also to create and negotiate their identity. For example, someone may use a local language or dialect to show that they belong to a certain community. A student may also use certain slang words to show that they are a part of particular friend group. One important concept here is style. Penelope Eckert explains that recent sociolinguistics research focuses on how people use language creatively to construct identities. Language works together with other identity markers, such as clothing, behavior, music, and social activities. For example, a person may speak formally in a classroom presentation, but speak informally with friends after class. This shows formal and informal identity. In another example is student group identity. Students in the same group might use special words, jokes, or expressions that other people may not understand. This language helps create a sense of belonging. So, language is not only something we use to communicate, it is also something we use to express who we are.
Oh, the second point is multilingualism. This area studies how people language in communities where more than one language is spoken. In multilingual settings, speakers may choose which language to use depending on the situations. They may also combine different languages in communication. One important concept is diglossia. Diglossia happens when different language or language varieties are used for different purposes. For example, in some Arabic-speaking communities, local Arabic dialects are used in everyday conversations, while standard Arabic is used in formal situations such as educations, law, or official speeches. Another common practice is code switching. Code switchings happen when speakers mix languages in one conversations. For example, an Indonesian university student may say, Aku belum submit assignment karena deadline-nya tonight. This sentence combines Indonesian and English language. The speaker uses Indonesian as the base language, but also includes English words like submit, assignment, deadline, and tonight. This kind of language use is common among students, especially when they are used to English academic terms. Language choice can also be connected to prestige, social status, and job opportunities. For example, English is often seen as useful for education and work. However, over time, this may also lead to language shift or even language loss if people stop using their local language. So, multilingualism shows us that language used is flexible and very influenced by social context.
The next topic and the last one is the sociolinguistics of globalization. This field studies how global connections, migrations, and technology influence language use. Today, people, languages, and cultures move across national boundaries because of migration, international education, social media, and the internet. People are exposed to many different languages and cultures. One key concept in this area is superdiversity. Superdiversity describes the growing social and linguistic complexity caused by migration and globalization. In superdiverse societies, people may speak several languages, come from different cultural backgrounds, and participate in different social networks. For examples, in one classroom, students may come from different regions and speak different languages or dialects. They may use Indonesian, English, Japanese, Balinese, or other local languages depending on the situation. So this area also shows that language is mobile and flexible. Speakers often use different linguistic resources depending on who they are talking to and where they are. Another important concept is translanguaging. Translanguaging means that multilingual speakers use their full language repertoire to communicate effectively. For examples, someone may use Indonesian, English, and a local language in one conversation to express their ideas more clearly. Globalization has changed the way people use language. Language is no longer limited to one place or one community. It moves with people, technology, and culture.
In conclusions, sociolinguistics studies the relationship between language and society.
And from this presentation, we can understand that language variation is influenced by many social factors such as age, gender, class, identity, culture, and region.
Sociolinguistics also helps us understand how people use language in different social situations.
For example, we speak differently when we talk to friends, teachers, family members, or people in formal situations.
Language also reflects identity, power, relationships, and social change.
So overall, language is not only for communication, it is also a way to express social meaning.
Through sociolinguistics, we can better understand why people speak differently and how language is connected to society. So remember that language is not only about grammar or vocabulary. It's about people, society, identity, and culture. So guys, after you heard about our presentations, why don't you challenge yourself to for an exercise? This is the link or the QR code to the Google Forms. You can challenge yourself, try to do it.
And I want to add something for this presentation. We use for this presentation, we use the ebook. The title is Introducing Linguistics by Jonathan Culpeper, Beth, Malory, and Nance, published by Routledge as our primary references. Okay, I think that's all for our presentation.
Thank you for listening our presentations.